Hi, I'm Brianna the Stinky Frog, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I post videos, mostly devlogs, for games and game jams I'm working on to keep myself motivated and have some sort of time frame that I can't just ignore. Alright, so let's jump into the video. So, this is my pre-devlog for the game I'm working on called Bittersweet Music. And I didn't actually like the way Devlog 0 looked, so this is why it's a pre-devlog. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant. So, when I was working on the Safe in Our World game jam, which was a 5 month long jam. It started in the summer of 2024 and then it ended like in October or something. I wasn't actually able to finish the jam, but I worked on it pretty consistently for the first couple of months before I had to go back to school. And that was my final semester. So it became very hard for me to do both the jam and make sure I graduated. So I had to choose. But before I stopped working on the game, because I gave myself these videos where I'm like, oop, I have to make these videos so I can have something to post, even though I have like 5 followers. But anyway, I needed to make something to post so that way I could force myself to have some sort of progress and I couldn't just be like, I'll do it later. So I was continuously making progress. So I feel like if I start this pre-devlog for Bittersweet Music, I feel like every month at least I'll be able to post some sort of updates, and maybe in certain months, if I do a lot of progress in the game, I'll have a couple of videos showcasing like massive amounts of progress. But for now, I'm planning on one video a month, just like before. That way, I can get a decent amount done. I have enough time to work on the game, work, and make these videos. Like I said, this is the pre-devlog, so Bittersweet Music is still very much in the baby phase of game idea. So some parts are more fleshed out than others, but I want to kind of talk about where this idea came from. So anyway, so this was a book I wanted to write when I was like in like early high school, so like 2014, 2015ish, and this was when Wattpad was still a really popular thing. I think it's still popular, but like in 2014 and 15, it was like the thing. But anyway, I wrote a couple of Wattpad stories. I had nothing weird. I didn't have any weird stories that you hear about Wattpad, but I had like a couple of chapters from random ideas that I don't even remember because I just liked writing and I liked creating things and making stories. So anyway, one night I had a dream, and I know this is kind of a weird devlog intro, just please bear with me. So I had this dream while I was staying at the night at my nanny and papa's house. So they had gotten me a keyboard for Christmas, a musical keyboard by the way, not like a typing keyboard, and it was in the room next to the one I slept in. So in this dream, I could hear piano music playing from the room, and later on I realized it was because the keyboard was in that room and I subconsciously remembered that. Anyway, so I went into the room in my dream and the music stopped playing. And this happened a couple of times in the dream. And eventually I went into the room and the music kept playing and there was a ghost there. And oh my goodness, I'm like an angsty teenager and the ghost fell in love with me and I fell in love with the ghost. And it was just awesome. And then I woke up from the dream and it was very weird. So don't judge me though. Everybody goes through weird angsty teenager phase. But yeah, I really liked the idea of that story being fleshed out a little bit more. And I actually talked to some friends about it, I don't know, 2019 after we had graduated. And they thought the whole story was like a really cool idea. So they have actually been waiting for me to write this book. And then I never wrote it. So I was like, why not make it a game? So I feel like I could tell this story and make it way more interactive than I would if it was just a book. So that's where the idea came from. Anyway, continuing on. So, I had originally planned to make this game in RPG Maker because I'm like, oh, I need to practice with new engines, and RPG Maker has like a built-in dialogue system because it's for RPGs and making them. So those usually have lots of dialogue. And I was like, I'll just use RPG Maker, I'll practice with that, and I didn't want to code my own dialogue system into Unity. But then I watched this video,
It was at this point that I was starting to freak out a little. This.
and watching them mess around with the Unity skeleton rigging reminded me of how much I enjoyed tinkering with it when I made this little game jam before. So I decided to go back to Unity because the way I do art is a little different than normal people, and it's so much easier for me to use skeleton rigging. And I know that there are plugins for RPG Maker, but I'm like, I already know how to use Unity. Let me just dive in with Unity. So now that I have my engine picked, Time to start the blank canvas so I can stare at it with an uneasy sense of dread because how empty it is. Alright, time to make a GitHub so I feel like I did something productive. Also done. Alright, so diving into a little bit of a backstory. So we have the family tree of Danny and Eugene. They are brothers. Here's their mom and dad. And they all live in a house. And then eventually, their dad goes off to war and he dies. And then the mom dies of a broken heart. And this was during the Vietnam War. So I don't know the exact year yet. The dad's going to die and then the mom will die. But Vietnam War time. And Eugene was born in 1950. Danny was born in 57. They're 7 years apart. So it's obviously after 57. Yeah. So they're born. They're that. And then we keep going. And now we have Ricky. And Ricky and Eugene are best friends. And they're the same age. They were both born in 1950. Well, one night, Danny is off at work. This is currently 1977. So we're 1977 now. Time skip. Danny is out. He's like at work or something. And Eugene and Ricky are hanging out. They're at Eugene and Danny's house, which was previously their parents' house. And after the parents died, they got the house. And Eugene and Ricky are drinking. They're chilling, being a couple of bros and whatnot. Well, sorry, my brain like stalled for a second. So Eugene and Ricky, they're drinking. They're might be drinking a little bit too much, and Ricky's like, "Hey, Eugene, I know you really want to get out of here because you're like you don't want to be in this house anymore. So like, let's sell your mom's piano that she played all the time, so we can get a bunch of money because the house isn't worth hardly anything, but the piano is like in perfect condition. It's a very expensive piano. Let's sell it." And Eugene's like, "Absolutely not. I will get rid of everything else in this house besides the piano. It's the one thing I'm keeping no matter where we go." Anyway, like I said before, they're drinking. That's a big part of this. So eventually, they keep drinking. They're drinking. Ricky's really trying to convince him. And then all of a sudden, Ricky pulls a gun on Eugene because he's like, let's sell the piano. Because he's trying to intimidate him to sell the piano. And he was not planning on actually shooting Eugene. But Eugene freaks out. I mean, he's got a gun pointed at him by his best friend. So he's freaking out a little bit. So he tries to like evade and like run at him to disarm him. Well, Ricky freaks out thinking, oh my God, I done screwed up. So he pulls the trigger and he shoots one time. But it goes straight through Eugene's heart. And he dies almost instantly. He's laying on the floor. There's blood on the hardwood floors now. So Ricky's freaking out because he's like, I don't know when Danny's coming home. I have to hide Eugene's body and I have to clean up the floorboards. So eventually, once Danny comes home, Ricky has hid Eugene's body outside of the house. And Danny and Ricky are like, hey, where's Eugene? And Ricky's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, who knows? And so they go on a police hunt and for like a week or so. And then Ricky goes out into the woods, gets Eugene's body from where he hid it in the woods, brings it back to the house, hides his body under the floorboards, and then puts the piano on top of where he hid Eugene's body. After that, Danny kind of fell into a depression. He stopped listening to music because both Eugene and their mother would play music and stuff like that, like all the time. Like they were big music people, and Danny was like, I can't listen to music anymore. It just is sad. So he moves away. He never goes back inside the house. And eventually, Ricky builds. Oops, I forgot to scroll to my picture. Yes, piano is hiding Eugene's body and the gun and Ricky's clothes and all that fun stuff. Danny is sad. So Danny moves away. Not super far, but he gets out of that house. He doesn't want to be in the house anymore. Ricky takes over the house, and he's like, well, I can't sell the piano now because it'll be really suspicious if I get rid of the piano and then have a bunch of money with this piano and then move away. Like, Danny will figure something out. So he's like, crap, I'm stuck here now too. So Ricky builds a house nearby, like, I don't know, super close within walking distance, like 2 to 3 minutes of a walk. Super close. You can see the houses from each other. But Ricky builds this house, and Danny comes over to help Ricky throughout the years. Neither one of them get married. Neither one of them have any kids. Ricky is too up in his own head, and he's like, I can't bring anyone into this because they'll figure it out. And Danny's just sad and lonely, and he never really got over his brother's death. And that is where our main character, Jetty, comes in. So her real name is Letty, but in grade school, one of her friends gave her the nickname Jetty because she jetted around a lot between schools because her parents were abusive and they couldn't like keep up anything, so they would get kicked out of a school and have to go to another one. But Jetty's friend, her mom, kind of knew what was happening. She contacted Child Protective Services, and this is a side note, but I don't like Child Protective Services because I think they're completely useless. But that's my own personal opinion. That's other people I know have different ones, but that's my opinion. So Child Protective Services did absolutely nothing to get Jetty out of the house. So the only way that Jetty and her friend stayed close was because her friend's mom would go pick her up every once in a while, be like, "Hey, let's come to my house." She would make sure she was fed and whatnot. So they were really close the whole time. I have to think of names for both of them. I haven't figured it out yet. So eventually, Jetty turns 18 and she just moves. She just like leaves her parents' house. She's like, I don't want to be here anymore. She moves. She doesn't move far enough though because they end up finding her and threatening to kill her unless she gives them all of her money. And so she's like, okay, I will do that because she doesn't want to die. So she gives them what they want. And then she ends up finding Ricky. Like she's looking for a new place to live. And then that's when she meets Ricky. And Ricky's like, here, you can have this house for $1,700 a month. And so she's like, awesome. And so she moves, and this is a totally different state. And she's away from where she was. She hopefully won't be found by her parents again. And Ricky's like, hey, you can have the whole house. You can do whatever you want to with the house, but you just can't move the piano because it was my friend's piano and it's really, really old and I don't want it to break. But secretly, it's because Eugene's skull and bones and such are still under the floorboards under the piano. So he's like, don't move the piano. And she's like, ah, sure, whatever, I don't care. So that is the current story so far. There's definitely going to be some puzzles with the piano. I've got one idea, but I'm not going to say it. I want to implement it, make sure it works first. But anyway, so that's the story. That's Ricky, Eugene,
If
Danny,
the
and
audio is
Jetty. Those are the
still
main
messed
characters that
up,
I
I
have so
am so
far.
sorry. I've
Got a
recorded
few
this
others,
part so
but
many times
haven't figured
already,
them out.
and my microphone is just being weird. But anyway, so I'm gonna throw up some pictures, like some quick sketches that I did of the house and like blueprints, and the shed for the game that I have so far. They're just quick sketches, so they're not the best, but that's some artwork I have. And then I'm gonna give myself like a couple of goals that I want to hit by the end of this month, since it is already the 9th and February is quite a short month. I'm not, trying not to do too much, but my goals are to have at least maybe the front porch, like the front area drawn, like actually drawn and put into the game, so that way it doesn't look so awful, just being white and black blobs everywhere when I'm playtesting. So I can get some artwork in. I also want to go ahead and implement a basic dialogue system. Uh, I already found a nice little YouTube tutorial of it, and I was like, oh, this is really simple. This is really nice. So I'm going to implement that, and it's pretty basic, so I can go in and edit some things when I feel like I need to change it from what the tutorial was. Because my dialogue systems I made in the past are not very good because I am an artist first, a programmer second. So I can program, it's just not always the prettiest, but it works. It does what I want it to do. That's all that matters. And then lastly, I want to try and go ahead and get a save system in. I don't want to use player prefs because player prefs aren't really good for this kind of thing. I mean, I could probably use it if I absolutely had to, but I'm trying to learn more about actual save systems. So I want to get a real save system implemented at the beginning before I go too far. And then not have to worry about trying to figure out player prefs later on down the road. All right, so those are my goals, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.